Yo, guys, what's going on? Sorry I've been MIA, just been busy with real life shit, but I wanted to blast out this quick video and tell you guys what I think might happen next for Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about Pump. First and foremost, like very embarrassingly, but it is what it is. I lost a lot of money trying to long basically this entire way down. Nothing worked out. I tried to long down here based on this sweep. It went nowhere and then broke down, stopped me out. I did the same thing on this sweep, which looked a lot more promising, stopped me out. So it's a little disappointing. It's been this way for a few weeks, if not a few months, that just normal, otherwise really good setups uh, just don't work out. And that is due to extremely aggressive sell pressure. I don't know by who. I don't really care to find out who's been selling, but obviously a large entity, somebody who can move price 40% down or something like that from the all-time high. I think a lot of people were calling for, uh, people who frankly were right and called for lower prices when we were well above 100,000. They were calling for 95,000. I saw some calls for 92,000, maybe even 90,000. I don't think anybody had $80,000 in mind, especially with a weekly chart that looks like this, right? So speaking of the weekly, we lost market structure on whatever sort of low that you want to put on your chart. We lost them all. So even this low, all the way down at the range low before we got the explosive move up to a definitive move above 100,000 for the first time ever. Sorry, into above 110,000 into $120,000. The first time we actually broke out and made a very convincing all-time high. So we broke that low as well, and we closed well below that, and now we're trading just even right now after today's bounce, we're still trading 10% below the low of the previous range. So things obviously don't look as good as they did not very long ago. So what I've got mapped out here is just the monthly order block, monthly demand, whatever you want to call it. The monthly level that is the same on everybody's charts. It came right down to the quarter of it, which I think looks pretty good. Not necessarily good for like a push to all-time high, but at least a push to one of two areas. In my opinion, we're either going to push up to up here, being the point of breakdown, right? So that's confluent with this weekly level at between 116 and 108,000, maybe 106. That's been a level for a very long time on the chart. So at the very least, a push up to 106, I think, would be reasonable for where a high time frame lower high is going to be put in. If we are not strong enough to do that, then at the very least, I'd like to see some sort of move up to about 100,000. That would be the low of the what I consider to be a range in here, right? So we had the absolute low before we broke market structure to the upside over here, right? You see this break in high time frame market structure. Um, so that's the low, that's the high, and then we had a bunch of price action, obviously, in the middle for a few months. At this point, it's conclusive that this price action all throughout here was distributive, and we broke down pretty significantly. Now, I don't know, but I will check sometime throughout this video what the stock market looks like and what gold looks like. I've not looked at either one yet, but I think we can probably get a better idea of what we can expect depending on what those two do. So now we're getting a push up from the what you might call the OTE, the optimal trade entry, from the monthly order block. So really high time frame that we're working with here. And again, I'd like to see a push into 98,000, and then if we don't get some sort of aggressive reaction to the downside, I'd like to see a continuation up to about 106,000. So we'll see. We have to be very vigilant and see what kind of reaction we get at those levels. If we even get there, maybe we're going to get capped by the actual top of this monthly order block. That is also a possibility. We never know. I guess time will tell. As of right now, there are a few things that I like. I think Solana looks better than Bitcoin and Ethereum, mostly due to the fact that it's down the most from its all-time high compared to the other two. So, um, for Bitcoin, I don't, nothing is really like screaming at me for a trade setup. I want to say you can long a pullback, but there's nothing super technical about it, right? We came back into this consolidation area, and that's where we're seeing a reaction from. And price has already bounced up really impressively, about 10% up from the low. Um, I don't see a reason to rush into longs, but take this with a grain of salt. I also wrote in Telegram that I'm looking for some sort of bullish price action, literally at the lows here on the 21st of November. We got a 4 hour sweep that I ended up not taking. I don't know whether I even noticed it. Had I noticed it, I probably would have taken a stab at it. But again, I was very, very discouraged, frankly. Like, look at every single sweep that we had, even on the 4 hour. Over here, you had somewhat like a, this is technically a sweep, led nowhere, stopped out, right? You go to the next one. You had a nice sweep just right here, right? Okay, get long, maybe long a pullback. I think I actually longed this pullback, thinking, okay, this is a nice order block right here on the 4 hour. I'm getting a nice pullback. I was patient, and then it just continued to just sell off. This is a series of what, like 10 4 hour candles in a row. That's a day and a half, 2 days of nonstop selling. So, um, didn't take this trade. Whoever did, God bless you. Congratulations. That's a wonderful setup. No drawdown, really, really clean. Um, so yeah, nothing super duper clear for me on Bitcoin except for two levels that I'm looking to see what kind of price action develops around, like I said, 98,000 and 106,000. I want to see, maybe that's going to give us really good indication for getting short. Maybe that's going to give us an indication of, okay, we're reclaiming some levels and maybe there's potential push to deeper into the 100,000s. So that's that for Bitcoin. I hope that makes sense. Let's quickly look at SPX. I haven't looked at this yet. I don't have anything, to say so far. Looks like this trade didn't work out. Um, but yeah, this shit barely even moved from its all-time high. It priced down less than 6%. It's currently 3% off at all-time high. In my eyes, it's at all-time high. Now, looking at it objectively, let me see a time frame where it's very clear to see. You can see how this could be a top and then a deviation, and then this could just come back up to retest and then break down. That's one possibility that I'm seeing. Again, I haven't looked at this chart. I just opened this chart a second ago, and that's what's popping out to me. Besides that, let me see if there's anything else that's super, you know, like on the monthly, it barely even pulled back, right? This has been up only for the last 6 months. So I don't know. On the low time frame, it looks like there could be a bearish argument to be made. The one that I just drew out. Besides that, I'm not. Nothing in this chart is telling me anything that's super obvious for me to, uh, make some trades based off of. I'd rather just look at the coins that I'm actually trading. I remember we drew out some short potential setups on gold. If somebody took them, congrats, they played out. I didn't. Um, but if anything, this looks better than the stock market to me. It broke down, find a base, consolidated, pushed back up to break market structure to the upside, right? And now it gave a retest to the consolidation area, and now this should push up, at the very least, come up to these highs at 4250, and then potentially all-time high. Gold looks way better than stocks and crypto to me. Now Ethereum, don't have too much to say about it. Um, this thing doesn't really trade very respectfully, for lack of a better term. This doesn't really respect, um, you know, our kind of technical analysis from what I've experienced at least. So you have two levels here. You have the 3 day and then you have the weekly, right? This is obviously some consolidation period that ended up breaking down, took out a bunch of stops, everybody who was eager to get long, and then the real move happened. We came back to retest this area, but very similar to the way that we retested it here on Bitcoin, we ended up going much, much lower, much deeper. So the same thing could be happening here. Forget the fact that we completely disregarded this weekly order block and Um, ended up getting weekly closes below that. So on the high time frame, this is still very much in a downtrend. It has been for some time now, but now if you really wanted to keep any sort of hope alive and say that, maybe like this weekly candle looked really good, right? We swept the low and then we closed above. That right there is a high time frame entry for Ethereum. Ended up again just the following week closing below, stopping everybody out, and then doing another sell-off the week right after that. So I think we're basically a day into the new week. So it's still very early to tell what this week is going to look like. The monthly, this has potential to close, kind of attractively. But again, I'm taking this with a grain of salt. I don't really love the way that Ethereum looks right now. Again, similar to Bitcoin, I think levels to look out for. This is a very clear level to me right here at 3,500. You've got some weekly opens, some weekly closes. You've got wick lows. There's a bunch of confluence for us to see what kind of price action we get around here at $3,500 for Ethereum. But as of right now, I don't have anything meaningful for you to say, you should get long, you should do this, you should do that. There hasn't been any sweeps, anything that's really, this price action is not clean. I think we can all agree on that. I'd be hard pressed to find someone who longed, near 80,000, near 2,600, and near 120 for Solana, uh, technically, not just based off of, I really want to get long. These prices are attractive. Let me just YOLO along. If you did, I understand why you would do that. That's what I was doing with Bitcoin, in the 90s, in the mid 80s, because, prices are really, really cheap. Might as well crack along. It makes sense. But on a technical level, there really hasn't been much for us to work with, in my opinion, at least for my system. Now, Solana looks a little bit different in that you have, just get rid of a couple things. Okay, so you got a really nice sweep on the weekly here. Okay. Now, this isn't conclusive. This doesn't mean that we can't retest. This doesn't mean that we can't, trade below 126 again. This doesn't mean anything. But what it does mean, at the very least, is that that's what the Bulls needed to see in order to get some sort of relief rally. It doesn't look like much, but it's actually up like 15% from the low. It just doesn't look like that because like the chart is just down so bad. So on both the 3-day and the weekly, you have this low right here at 126. We swept it on the daily probably as well. Yeah, the daily swept it twice, and then we got a nice move up. So again, if you had this level marked out for whatever reason, um, then you could make an argument as to why this level is important. It was very similar to Ethereum, the low that led to this rally. But then you could also say that about this low and about this low, right? Because we didn't quite break market structure up until up here, and even that was a super weak break. And then this pullback that I've got drawn up with this box here, that was the retest of just this $150 level, and then we got the push to, I want to say all-time high, but it didn't even do that. Solana's just been kind of a little disappointing, I want to say. But either way, I'm getting sidetracked here. Um, Back on the daily, like I said, we got the sweep. I'm sure we got the same thing on the 12-hour. No, we didn't actually. But either way, on the daily, we got a nice sweep. And there's still just so much resistance on the way up, right? You obviously have these lows that could act as some sort of resistance around 148. Nothing here tells me, okay, long a pullback, right? I'd like to see. I'm not really confident that Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum are going to sustain this rally and that's going to transfer onto the rest of the market. And we're just going to get a beautiful movie like, V reversal, everything's going to be fine. And, it's as if nothing ever happened. We're just going to rally back up to the highs, make new all time highs, bull market's back, blah, blah, blah. We're early, right? I don't think that's the case. I think what makes more sense is something like this, a little bit more sideways, especially now. I think, Thanksgiving is coming up this week, and then historically, from what I remember, I haven't checked stats on this, but just based on the last 5 years, 6 years that I've been trading this market, um, from my memory, December is not a very good time to be super active. It's usually low on volume because, A lot of hedge funds, a lot of banks, a lot of whatever big money is out on vacation. They're chilling in Aruba with their families by the beach. Okay, they're not really interested in fucking 5% moves on Bitcoin, from what I remember, right? It could be different this year. Everybody was talking about how September is historically bearish and that we should all be bearish and that it's all over and it's cooked and we're done and blah, blah, blah. And what do we have? We had one of the most bullish months on Bitcoin. Bitcoin actually put in the monthly low on September 1st. It was up only. So seasonality is, in my opinion, bullshit. But I still want to, keep myself in check and remember the fact that historically December is not a super good month to be. It's not a very volatile month in the kind of way that you'd want it to be volatile, so that you can hold swing longs, and that we're just going to be up only. So I think big money is not going to be super involved during December. How far am I into this video? I'm sure a very long time. I can't even really tell, but um, I think we covered mostly everything. I think, to conclude, I think a little bit more sideways would just make way more sense. I don't think you should be eager to get into any longs right here. This could age very, very poorly. By the way, in 2 days, Solana might be trading at 160, 170. Bitcoin could be back into the mid 90s, and I just look like a dum dum. Very much could be. Frankly, like I said on Twitter, I haven't won a trade. Embarrassing, maybe a little bit. Haven't won a single trade since early October. It's been about 2 months of just a consistent losing streak, but I'm still here. I'm still in the game. I'm still doing what I normally would do. It's just that the setups that 9 out of 10 times work out for me just haven't been working, because, like I said, the sell pressure on all these coins has just been relentless, very, very brutal. Again, I didn't see anybody calling for 80,000. I didn't see anybody posting P&L screenshots from being long 80, 81,000. I don't know anybody who held a short from 100 and anything, frankly, all the way down to 80. I know a lot of people who were actually vocally bearish ended up flipping bullish near 100,000 into the mid 90s, and actually not only did they not short, they ended up longing. So even though their thesis was correct, they didn't take it. I think the last move caught a lot of people by surprise. So if you're one of those people, I don't care to admit it. I'm one of those people. I totally got taken for a ride here, and it's all good. It's part of the game. You're not always going to get it right. So, in order to get myself back in the game and kind of level myself out, I've been just going out. I've been, leaving the house, doing things, real life shit, working out, blah, blah, blah. Just doing stuff away from this so I can kind of reset myself, get back in the groove, and then I can keep doing what I know that I'm good at doing, which is losing trades. I mean, winning trades. Ha ha. Okay. Anyway, that's it for that. Just a little update. I hope this is helpful. If you're long, congratulations. I think the market looks really splendid today. It's really nice if you caught any of these moves. That's awesome. I'm really happy for you. As for myself, and this is purely for me, I'm not telling you what to do with your money. I am not in a rush to get into any longs from right here. Um, I think that's it. Yeah, that's definitely it. I'll get back into streaming later. I'll probably blast one out either Wednesday or Thursday. I'll keep you guys posted on that. I have some other stuff going on in the real world that is much more interesting than whatever's going on here, but I'll do my best. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in. I hope this was helpful to some degree. If you have any questions, hit me up on Telegram. I'll try to be more active, and maybe leave a comment on YouTube. Do I have any comments on YouTube? I don't know. But you could be the first to comment. Wouldn't that be amazing? Maybe we can NFT that one day and you can make $1 million. This is not financial advice. None of it has been. None of it ever will be. I love you, and I'll talk to you later.